Okay, let's look at part B. Now part B asks for, to what extent can the number of units change, the number of units that we have that we increase our sales by because we outsource the function. To what extent can that change that so that we are indifferent between our two options? Now, let's just go down here. Remember, it's the same thought process. We need to add 2.233711 million to get to a relevant cost of 0. So our relevant cost. And once again, we're going to ask ourselves, well, let's just choose a different color. We're going to ask ourselves, where in our analysis do we find this variable? Where is it? And which cash flows, corresponding cash flows, will change if we change this variable? Now, if we look at the first line item, we don't see that change in the number of units. Okay, there's no, for instance, 7% change here. Same for commission, legal costs, and sales offices. But these cash flows, by the way, are part of the keeping the sales function, and so they'll actually never be part of our consideration. But if we come down here, we see here that change in number of units, and this bracket is equal to 910 units. And it's in each of these line items. So in order to get this cash flows, we had to take into consideration this variable. And therefore, if we change this variable, all these cash flows are going to change. And so in the same way as we approach A, we're now going to approach B. The problem with B is that there are now 6 line items which need to change, 6. Whereas with A, there was only 2, and so we could just list the 2, list the workings, and quickly figure it out. But if we were to do that with all 6 of these line items, it will become messy very quickly. So we need to find a better way. And the way we do that is by, firstly, we're going to add all of these cash flows together. Let's move down here. If we add all those cash flows together, we get an amount of 19 million. That one is not great. 19,666,289. So that's adding all 6 of these cash flows together. And we know that we want to increase these cash flows by 2.2 million in order to be indifferent between the two options. So this is your left-hand side. Now, once again, if we list all these workings the way we did under A, it would be a big mess. So what we want to do is find a quicker way. We know that this is common, so we can easily put that down. That is the variable actually that we want to calculate, so we just put X down. But we want to know what this amount equates to without taking too much time. So let me just choose a different color. And a quick way to calculate this amount is by looking at the original scenario. We know that these cash flows is equal to 19666,289, and that's equal to the common factor of 910 multiplied by the sum of these amounts. Okay, so we would have individually added these numbers to get to A. But now we're trying to calculate A, and luckily we have all the information so that we find that A is equal to 19 9 divided by 910 units, and that is equal to, let me quickly calculate it because I don't have the numbers in front of me. 966,289 divided by 910 is equal to 21,611.3. Okay. So we put that in here. This side over here is equal to the change in the number of units times 21,611.30. On this side we get 21.9 million. And we can quickly just manipulate this formula to get x on the one side, and we find that x is equal to 1013 units, 0.36, which we need to round up to 1014 units, because you can't have 0.36 units. And if we were to calculate that as a percentage increase over the original sales of 13,000, we'll see that it's 7.8%. Now, first note that the answer in your solution is wrong. It says 7%, but hopefully you would have immediately noticed that that is impossible. Oopsie. Okay, so that is impossible. When we increased the numbers by 7%, we got a relevant cost of 2.233 million. So it can't be 7%. Okay. The corrected solution is on Vula, and you'll see it also gets 7.8%. But here, getting to this formula is really, the tricky part. Once you can put this down, x is easy to solve. And it's really the thought process. First of all, you ask yourself which variable is changing, and then you ask yourself, well, which cash flows within my analysis will actually change if I change this variable? And then lastly, you want to know by how much you want to change your cash flows to get to break even or to a point where we are indifferent between the two options.